Group 10 will report on globalization and management. An overview. By the end of this report, you will learn what is globalization, how government influence competitiveness, brief history of globalization, and global business practices. But for my report, we will learn what is globalization, types of globalization, benefits and challenges of globalization. What is globalization? Globalization is the growing interdependence of the world's economies, cultures, and populations, driven by cross-border trade in goods and services, technology, flows of investment, people, and information. In simple terms, it is the process by which the world becomes increasingly connected and integrated, spanning economic activities, political policies, technological exchanges, and cultural influences. Types of globalization. Political globalization. It strengthens ties between nations through various agreements and institutions to promote peace and cooperation. In an increasingly globalized world, many issues transcend national borders and require collective action. As a result, nations form international organizations and agreements to work together on shared goals and govern global affairs. Examples include institutions such as the United Nations, World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, and alliances like NATO. Through these bodies, countries establish treaties and norms on everything from trade rules to human rights. Political globalization also encompasses the spread of democratic ideals or governance norms and the development of international law the nations agree to follow. The creation of blocks and agreements, for instance, the European Union or trade agreements like NAFTA or USMCA, are manifestations of political globalization aimed at reducing friction in international relations. Overall, political globalization seeks to create a more cooperative global framework where countries find common ground on issues and resolve disputes via dialogue and legal mechanisms rather than unilateral action. Economic globalization refers to the increasing integration of international trade and investment into global economies. This includes the expansion of international trade, the growth of foreign direct investment, and the spread of multinational corporations. Advancement in technologies and pro-trade policies have enabled goods and services to move freely across borders. A product can now be designed in Europe, assembled in Asia, with components from Africa, and sold in the Americas. Companies can source raw materials or manufacture products in countries where it is most cost efficient, then ship them worldwide. This global supply chain allows businesses to operate on a worldwide scale, leading to greater efficiency, cheaper consumer prices, and often higher overall output. Consumers benefit by having access to a wider variety of goods at lower prices, while producers gain access to much larger markets for their products. Cultural globalization increased the exchange of culture between different societies around the world. In a globalized world, ideas, information, and cultural practices flow more freely between societies. People today are exposed to foreign languages, foods, music, movies, and values more than ever before, whether through travel, immigration, or digital media. For example, a person in South America might enjoy K-pop music from Korea and dine at a restaurant serving Italian pizza while wearing clothes designed in the USA and made in China. Cultural globalization has a potential to make societies more open-minded and tolerant as people become aware of global perspectives beyond their local experiences. It can also spark creativity and innovation as ideas from different corners of the world inspire new hybrids, for instance, like fusion cuisines or international art forms. Benefits and challenges of globalization. Benefits of globalization. Increased economic growth, meaning global market access and specialized boost in GDP. Examples are export-led growth in South Korea and China. Improved living standards, wider availability of quality goods and services at lower prices improves healthcare, education, and quality of life. Reduced poverty. Global trade and investment have lifted over 1 billion people out of extreme poverty, as seen in China's transformation. Specialization and market efficiency. Focusing on comparative advantages drives innovation and optimizes resource allocation. Lower consumer prices. Increased competition reduces costs, making consumer goods more affordable. And lastly, innovation and technological advancement. Global competition accelerates R&D and fosters rapid technological progress. Challenges of globalization. Exploitation of workers. Lower production costs can lead to poor labor conditions and low wages. Income inequality. Benefits are unevenly distributed, often favored skilled workers and capital owners over lower skilled workers. Displacement and economic insecurity. Global competition causes industries to relocate, resulting in job losses and regional decline. Cultural homogenization. The spread of dominant global brands and media can erode local traditions and cultural diversity. Environmental degradation. Enhanced production and long-distance trade contribute to higher carbon emissions, resource depletion, and pollution. Lastly, global vulnerabilities and external shocks. Interconnected economies are more susceptible to crisis as seen in the 2008 financial crisis and COVID-19 pandemic. That is all for my report.
Good evening to each and everyone, especially to our professor, Ma'am Corazon Floresca. My name is Nicole Angela Dimitridia, and I am going to discuss about how the government influence competitiveness. First, we'll have our introduction, wherein the government plays a crucial role in influencing a country's competitiveness, especially in the context of globalization. As countries become more interconnected economically, politically, and culturally, the ability of a nation to compete in the global marketplace becomes increasingly important. Through the government's influence, it creates fair trade policies, building infrastructures like roads and airports, and improving education and skills so workers can meet global standards. The government also offers tax incentives to attract businesses, supports small entrepreneurs to join global markets, and promotes good governance to build trust with investors. All these actions help the country grow and compete in the world economy. Next, we will be discussing the 9 identified ways that the government influence competitiveness in globalization. Number one, we have trade policy and regulation, which refers to the government's rules and strategies such as tariffs, trade agreements, and import export laws that regulate cross-border trade to protect local industries and boost global competitiveness. Here in the Philippine government, we use trade policies and rules to guide how products are bought and sold with other countries. For example, imported goods like rice and sugar have tariffs or taxes so that the local farmers are protected and people will still support local products. Another example of this is the Export Development Plan, which helps Filipino business sell products abroad by giving them support like tax incentives and easier processing of documents. In short, these policies make sure that local industries are protected while also helping Filipino products compete in the global market. Number 2, we have education and skill development. Refers to the government efforts to build a skilled, adaptable workforce through education, training, and lifelong learning, boosting productivity and global competitiveness. Wherein globalization has pushed the Philippines to improve education and skills so Filipinos can compete in the global workforce. For example, the government introduced the K-12 education program, adding senior high school to prepare students with skills needed for both local and international jobs. Another example is the TESDA, Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, which trains Filipinos in fields like healthcare, IT, and hospitality skills that are in demand abroad. This helps many Filipinos work overseas as nurses, seafarers, or IT specialists, showing how education and training are linked to global opportunities. Next, number 3, we have infrastructure investment, which is the government spending on physical and digital infrastructure like roads, ports, energy, and internet that lowers costs, improves efficiency, and strengthens global competitiveness. Infrastructure investment helps the Philippines connect better in the world and attract global business. A good example is the Build program, which focuses on building roads, airports, seaports, and railways. By improving transportation and communication systems, goods can be moved faster, tourists can travel more easily, and foreign investors can find it easier to do business in the country. For instance, the expansion of Clark International Airport makes it easier for international flights and trade to enter the Philippines. This shows how infrastructure investment supports globalization by linking the Philippines more closely with global markets and opportunities. Next, we have taxation and economic incentives. It refers to the government tax and financial policies such as adjusted rates, subsidies, and grants aimed at fostering business growth, investments, innovation, and global competitiveness. The Philippine government uses taxes and incentives to attract foreign investors and strengthen its roles in globalization. For example, under the CREATE law, or also known as the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises, the corporate income tax was lowered and special tax breaks were given to businesses that invest in priority sectors like manufacturing, IT, and renewable energy. This makes the Philippines more competitive in global market since lower taxes and incentives encourage international companies to set up operations in the country, creating more jobs and boosting the economy. Next, number 5, we have monetary and fiscal stability. It refers to the government's ability to keep the economy stable by managing inflation, debt, spending, and taxation, creating a predictable environment that fosters investment and global competitiveness. Next, we have number 6, support for innovation and technology. It refers to the government initiatives like R&D funding, IP protection, and startup support that drive innovation and keep countries competitive in global markets. The Philippines support innovation and technology to keep up with the global competition. For example, the government created the Innovate Philippines Act and programs through the Department of Science and Technology or DOST that funds research, startups, and tech-based solutions. A good example in the Philippine Startup Development Program, which gives grants and training to local tech entrepreneurs. These supports help Filipino startups in areas like e-commerce, fintech, and AI connect with global markets, making the country more active in the digital economy. Next, let us proceed with the Export and Trade Promotion, which refers to the government's program that helps businesses enter global markets through trade missions, export financing, and international marketing to boost competitiveness. Export and trade promotion helps the Philippines sell more products abroad and stay competitive in the global market. The Department of Trade and Industry supports local business through trade fairs, export financing, and international marketing. For example, The promotion of Philippine mangoes and bananas in the global market has boosted agricultural exports, while the Philippine Export Development Plan provides strategies to help local products meet international standards. These efforts allow Filipino goods to reach more countries, strengthening the country's role in globalization. Next, number 8, foreign policy and diplomacy. It refers to the government strategies for managing to foreign relations through trade agreements, alliances, and cooperation to open markets, attract investment, and support global competitiveness. Foreign policy and diplomacy help the Philippines build strong relationships with other countries and take part in global trade and cooperation. For example, the Philippines is an active member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, which is through ASEAN, the country strengthens ties with neighbors, attracts investments, and joins free trade agreements in an open market for Filipino products like bananas, mangoes, and electronics. This shows how foreign policy and diplomacy support globalization by creating opportunities for trade, jobs, and international cooperation. Let us now proceed to the last part, social and economic inclusion. Refers to the government policies that ensure equal access to opportunities, resources, and economic benefits for all, regardless of income, gender, ethnicity, or location. Social and economic inclusion means giving all people equal access to opportunities created by globalization. In the Philippines, this can be seen in the government programs that help small businesses and marginalized groups join in the global economy. For example, the DTI's One Town, One Product program supports local entrepreneurs by helping them improve and market their products, such as handicrafts, foods, or textiles, so they can be sold not only locally but also abroad. This allows small communities to benefit from globalization, not just big companies. Why is government competitiveness important? Because it drives economic growth, improves public services, attracts investment, supports innovation, and builds public trust. It helps a country adapt to global challenges and ensures long-term national development. That would be all for my report. Thank you for listening.
Assalamualaikum and good evening everyone. So I was assigned by our group to discuss about the brief history of globalization. Early globalization pre-1500s. Even in ancient times, basic forms of globalization existed. The Silk Road, a network of trade routes across Eurasia, facilitated trade and the spread of ideas between East and West. Maritime trade routes in the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean connected different societies, promoting cultural and economic exchange. So kahit noong ancient times pa po, nag-e-existed na po ang globalization. So for example, ang Silk Road, ang mga kalakalang tulad ng silk mula sa China ay naipapadala patungo sa kanluran. So, habang ang mga produkto tulad ng glassware mula sa Europa ay maaaring makarating sa silangan sa pamamagitan ng mga ruta ng kalakalang pandagat. Ang mga sangkap at kultura mula sa iba't ibang lugar ay maaaring maglantad sa iba't ibang lipunan, nagbubuklod sa mga tao sa pamamagitan ng komersyo at cultural exchanges. Age of exploration and colonialism during 5th to 19th centuries. Globalization picked up space in the 15th century as European powers searched for new trade routes and resources, leading them to establish colonial empires. The Columbian Exchange, the transfer of plants, animals, and disease between the old and new worlds, significantly changed ecosystems and societies worldwide. So during the age of exploration and colonialism from the 5th to the 19th centuries, globalization accelerated in the 15th century as European nations sought a new trade, routes, and wealth, resulting in the formation of colonial empires. The Columbian Exchange, involving the exchange of plants, animals, and disease between the eastern and western hemisphere, brought about profound changes in ecosystems and societies globally. Industrial Revolution during 18th to 19th centuries. The Industrial Revolution greatly sped up globalization through the advance in transportation and communication. The invention of steam engines, railroads, and the telegraph made it cheaper and faster to move goods and information over long distances, boosting a trade and migration. So, the Industrial Revolution spanning the 18th and 19th centuries was crucial catalyst for accelerating globalization. Innovation in transportation and communication such as steam engines, railroads, and the telegraph transformed the movement of goods and information, making it more efficient and rapid across long distances. This advancement significantly boosted global trade and migration. So tulad ng nabanggit ko kanina, one of example how the Industrial Revolution accelerated globalization is the development of the railroad system. The invention and expansion of railroads enable faster and more cost-effective transportation of goods over long distances, facilitating increased trade between regions and nations, and facilitating the movement of people and resources on a global scale. 20th to 21st centuries. After World War II, globalization took off with the establishment of international organizations, such as the United Nations. The Internet and digital technologies led to unprecedented levels of interconnectedness referred to as hyperglobalization. So in the post of World War II era, globalization gained momentum with the establishment of international institutions like the United Nations. However, true surge in globalization occurred with the rise of the internet and digital technologies in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. This period, known as hyperglobalization, saw a significant increase in interconnectedness among economies, culture, and societies worldwide. The internet facilitated rapid communication and exchange of information globally, transforming supply chains, boosting international trade, and spreading ideas and culture at an unprecedented pace. This era of hyperglobalization has presented both opportunities and challenges, fundamentally reshaping global interaction and economic dynamics. Globalization and management. Globalization has significantly reshaped management practices, compelling managers to operate in increasingly complex international environments. Managers must understand diverse culture, legal system, and economic conditions. They also need to manage cross-cultural teams, comply with the international regulation, and navigate global competition and supply chains. So the globalization has transformed the way managers work by requiring them to navigate intricate global landscape. Managers are now tasked with comprehending diverse culture, legal system, and economic contexts. Additionally, they must effectively lead teams from the different cultural backgrounds, adhere to international regulations, and successfully navigate the challenges posed by global competition and complex supply chains. This shift underscores the need for managers to possess a diverse skill set that encompasses cultural awareness, strategic decision making on a global scale, and the ability to manage across border collaboration. So let's tackle about women in the international workforce. Globalization has significantly influenced women's participation in the international workforce, leading to what is often termed the feminization of labor. This trend reflects the increased reliance on women's labor, both paid and unpaid, across various sectors globally. So these are the key aspects of women in the globalized workforce. First is increased participation. Globalization has coincided with a rise in female labor force participation rates, narrowing the gender gap from the 30 to 26 percentage points. Second one is sectoral distribution. Women's involvement has grown in sectors like manufacturing, especially in export processing zones, public services, and professional services such as law, banking, and IT. The last one is migration. Many women migrate to secure livelihoods for themselves and their families' opportunities. So let's proceed to challenges and inequalities. The first one is pay and status. Despite increased participation, gender equality in pay and status remains elusive. And the other one is unpaid work. Non-paid work such as family caregiving remains a major barrier to women's workforce participation and their ability to reach top positions in corporations and politics. The last one is representation in leadership. Women are still underrepresented in senior corporate roles, particularly at the executive level, despite progress in boardroom. So the last part of women in the international workforce is strategies for improvement. First one is policy changes. Implementing family-friendly benefits and worker protection legislation can improve female participation. Second one is labor market policies. Introducing labor market policies that enhance workers' capabilities and rectify gender imbalance is essential for ensuring fair working conditions. And lastly, social support system. Strengthening publicly accountable systems that provide mutual assurance against entitlement failure, such as investing in public health, education, and care services, is necessary for developing countries to achieve gender equality. So that will be all for my topic. Thank you po.
Japanese approach. What is Japanese style management? It's a set of management principles and practices that have traditionally been associated with Japanese companies. Due to the success of several Japanese firms in the years following World War II, these practices gained attention and recognition on a global scale. It is characterized by an emphasis on ongoing improvement, effective cooperation, and respect for hierarchy. Japanese management techniques are credited for enabling Japanese businesses to prosper in sectors including steel, electronics, and automobiles. Japan has had incredible economic progress and prosperity in a short time and is now considered a super industrial power globally. As a result, the Japanese miracle gained special interest from both industrialized and developing nations. The success of Japan is frequently attributed to its unique management system. Nature of Japanese management. Nenko, or lifetime employment. Freshmen from prestigious educational schools are employed each year under the Japanese management system. A person stays employed with a corporation after joining it. A person enters a company with the intention of retiring from it. Except for the senior-most executives, everyone retires between the ages of 55 and 60. Terminations are uncommon and only applied to serious criminal acts. Advantages of Nenko. It prevents hostilities between rival businesses in the job market. The employee is committed to the business for life and works to ensure his future by ensuring the success of his employer. Hiring expenses and employee turnover are kept to a minimum. The development of a strong sense of devotion and loyalty to the company. The strong sense of patriotism among the Japanese people is possibly where this system originates. Job switching is frowned upon in Japan. A Japanese employee often loses all seniority and begins at the bottom if he leaves one business and joins another. Ringi, or consensus decision making. In the Japanese system, decisions are made by agreement among the managers at various organizational levels. After consulting with his coworkers, a younger manager is typically given the assignment of summarizing a proposal into writing. Before the decision is adopted, this idea is then passed up the management chain from the bottom to the top through a complicated process. The idea may need to be approved by 60 to 80 people, and the process might take 2 weeks to 2 years. Rin signifies presenting a suggestion to one's supervisor, while Gi denotes consideration and judgment. Advantages of Ringi. The real decision making is first distributed to lower levels of management. It promotes workplace harmony and reduces conflicts. It permits contributions from lower levels of management. It strengthens commitment to carrying out choices. Lower level managers are encouraged to take initiative and are given implementation responsibilities by the system. Job rotation are non-specialized career paths. A typical employee in Japanese companies switches positions frequently during his career to experience a variety of fields of work. When he reaches the top of his profession, he has a sufficient understanding of all the key managerial areas. This system suffers from a lack of accurate specialization, but this is overcome by gains through better coordination among different departments, wider interpersonal relationships, and adaptable staff. The perspective broadens when each employee understands the specific problems in the different functional areas. Slow evaluation and seniority-based promotion system. Individual performance reviews are based on long-term contributions made by the individual. An individual often receives their first performance appraisal after about 10 years of employment. Employees are conditioned in the organization as they are hired throughout their early years. Long-term employment is supported through slow reviews and promotion based on seniority, which increases workforce stability and prevents short-term business profits. Standards for age and service duration that are impersonal and objective help prevent unhealthy employee rivalry and jealousy. These encourage a cooperative partnership in which the senior employees take the lead on decisions. After After several intra-organizational promotions, chief executives rise through the ranks. They, therefore, possess in-depth knowledge of the organization's employees and capabilities. The Jomukai, or Executive Council, is the highest level of management in Japanese business. It is made up of the chief executive and a few strategically selected executive directors. Omikoshi, or collective group responsibility. Employees act, think, and work as groups rather than as individuals. A team or group approach reduces unnecessary practices while still giving each employee the freedom to use their initiative to decide how best to complete their tasks and make their job enjoyable. They carry the company like a group of people carrying the portable shrine, which is a traditional feature of Shinto festivals. Although they follow a predetermined route, They move along it in their own chosen way. Paternalistic human concern. Both on the job and off, the organization shows a fatherly concern for its workers. Company housing, indoor and outdoor games, exclusive family allowances, parties and social gatherings, etc., are examples of how businesses show their concern for their employees. The senior and junior staff have a father-child connection, the Oyabun-Kabun connection. Company's executive frequently finds a school for an employee's child, arranges an employee's sister or daughter's wedding, or even arranges for the employee's sick family member to receive medical attention. Such broad support for employees promotes their dedication and morale while easing the strain on both sides of the relationship. The team is secure and the organization runs like one huge family. Profit-based compensation system. Corporate performance is related to employee compensation. Every 6 months, bonuses add up and make up a sizable portion of the compensation. Every employee receives a bonus which might be 5 or 6 times their income, equal to a portion of their yearly remuneration. When determining pay, group performance is taken into account rather than individual performance. The employees now bear more of the business risk since they are more invested in the success of the company. Employees are also given a sense of belonging through group bonuses. Quality control circles. Quality is given the utmost priority in the Japanese work culture. A work group is established to find and address issues with productivity and quality. A firm would have many quality circles, each of which is led by a supervisor. It meets once a week to develop and put into action ideas to increase quality and output. Novel concepts are published in in-house publications and recognized with prize nominations. This obsessive commitment to quality is what allows Japanese businesses to thrive in the American and European markets, particularly in the automobile and electronic industries. Egalitarianism. The workplace culture in Japanese business is egalitarian, meaning democratic and easy, and rank differences are minimized. There are numerous ways that this equality is demonstrated. Everybody from the managing director to the sweeper is dressed in the same gray outfit. The concept of hierarchy and caste are abandoned when everyone is forced to eat in the same cafeteria. Executives do not have private rooms since in Japan, everyone sits down together. Everyone can see what is going on because of the open work tables in the hallway. In Japanese companies, being on time is considered sacred. Each shift begins with 5 minutes of preparation at the workplace. The two tea breaks are each exactly given 7.5 minutes long, while the lunch break lasts for a full 30 minutes. Other obvious examples of egalitarianism are shared restrooms and workplace anthems. Strong emphasis on training. In a Japanese company, character, upbringing, and family history are given more weight than experience and talent, especially when selecting employees, recruiting individuals at entry-level positions, and providing them with training promotes compliance. Through international training programs, training is provided in both functional areas and the company's ideology. Focus on self-discipline and harmony. Japanese management practices discourage internal competition. It emphasizes harmony and collaboration, while social rejection deals with individual show-offs. The self-discipline that Japanese people learn to force upon themselves from an early age leads to obedience, dedication, and patience. Company unions. Unlike craft or industry-wide unions in the West, Japanese unions are often set up on a business basis. A framework for labor management collaboration is provided by the corporate union, which offers both management and employees a sense of purpose. The management strategy towards union is cooperative instead of hostile. Ethical conduct. Japanese businesses acknowledge their social responsibilities and commit to higher goals than just maximizing profits. The Doyokai, meaning the new managerial elite philosophy of Japan, acknowledges that the role of management in a modern organization extends well beyond the achievement of profit. Japanese management. So the Japanese culture and history continue to have an impact of management in the present day. In Japanese businesses, collective cooperation and agreement are frequently valued more highly than individual achievement. Due to globalization and the growing impact of Western management techniques, Japanese businesses have also begun to adopt aspects of Western management approaches, such as stronger emphasis on individuality, diversity, and innovation. Thank you for listening.